And we are live. Welcome to the Ruby Monday meeting group. Today's October 5th, 2015. We're here to discuss our newest project we just started called Ruby Committed. You're always welcome to watch on the YouTube channel. Join us in Slack and converse with us and be involved. Okay, let's get things started. How is everybody today?
That's an awesome intro, by the way. I gotta totally up my game.
I ad-libbed it.
Yeah, I gotta totally up my game on that. But yeah, that was an awesome intro.
Thank you. So some people have worked on our new project called Committed. I unfortunately did not, but there was others. Anybody want to discuss this first? Continue where we left off? How do you guys want to start this?
I think I saw some pull requests open, so maybe if we go through them and see who we actually had a couple pull requests in, and then if they're on the call, that'd be great to have them discussed it about, and we can kind of go through it.
Well, one of them was Alan, and he's not on. I think one of them was Victor.
I have code to show. I just didn't make it into a pull request because I didn't think we were going to add it.
And that's
Well,
also
go ahead, show us the code.
I made it as a branch. I just didn't make a pull request out of it.
That's fine. And I think Diana's not in. She added HTTP party.
Correct. And then Clayton, did you also have that I guess like a walkthrough of how you did your own authentication?
Yeah, that's what I wrote.
Oh, awesome. That's what you're going to share? We're looking forward to that.
Corey, do you have access to our Trello board? Corey was asking, is there a wiki or general overview of the project anywhere? He's looking on Trello and GitHub.
Yeah, I'm on there now. I just didn't see. I see some feature discussions, but not
You know what?
what we want the project to be as a whole.
I will give myself a to-do. I will add the overview. And then people can tell me how I screwed up and fix it because I probably will screw up and forget.
Hey, Farish, while Clayton gets set up, question for you. What was that alternative to Trello that you had mentioned?
Waffle.io, and it looks just like Trello. Seems to work like Trello. Here, I'll go queue this up and I'll share it.
You know, no, I just wanted to confirm the name because I was at GitHub conference, the GitHub Universe conference, this past week, and I met the team from Waffle.io.
Did you go up
to
to Northern
California? What was that?
Did you go up to Northern California?
Yeah, it was in San Francisco.
You know what? I was going to go, and then I saw the hotel prices, and I went, if I'm paying this out of my pocket, I'm not going to pay more for the hotel than the conference. That was.
Yeah, no, I did Airbnb.
See, you know what? I never used that, and I have some OCD issues about staying at a hotel, and it is. So Airbnb sounds worse to me.
It probably would be. So don't worry about it.
There's this thing. What did I used to do? It was so bad. I guess because me and my buddies would spend time. And yes, guys, you should learn to stop coding if you plan to do trips and conferences. It used to be so bad. I would have a sleeping bag to lay on top of the bed with that I trusted.
Got it. Yeah, but it actually looks like a very interesting project. I don't think they're at the robustness of Trello yet. But I do like the direction they're going in. I love the fact that you can link directly to GitHub issues.
Right.
Pull requests get sent into their own cards, and it's a very neat concept. They showed me a demo. I was sitting down with the team for a good while, and I think they're still got a little bit of catch up to do to be like fully robust, but they are going in the right direction. It's interesting.
I would say go for what our needs are. Since we started early, we can always switch if you want. It's up to you and the team. I do like the idea of GitHub issues. I don't know if we necessarily need the craziness of or robustness of Trello.
Right. Cool. Well, sorry, just kind of sidetrack that, but ready when you are, Clayton.
Okay. They're saying that the public link's not working in the chat.
Let me double check it. I probably screwed up.
I don't want to get started until they're ready.
Thanks, man.
Well, they can always watch it or phone line, so it's up to you.
Okay.
Let me go here. Well, we have 2 people watching, but I'll put the YouTube to our.
Hey, Sus,
Okay.
how are you? I feel like I need to say hi to you before the call starts.
Hey, I'm very good.
It felt weird not saying hi to everyone ahead of time. It's probably because I'm stuck in the car right now, but yeah. And then I thought next section, Abinom's going to host a session in Portuguese.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I am going to go ahead and start screen sharing.
All right, cool. Thanks.
All right.
All right. You guys seeing my screen?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to make it. Is that easily readable?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I rolled a do-it-yourself user authentication system for the app that we're not going to use, but I just wanted to show people how to do it. I think we're going to use Devise instead, but I think it's a good thing for people to know how to do. So the first things I did is I added to the gem file, added decrypt, which is what Devise uses to encrypt passwords. And I added RSpec Rails and Factory Girls Rails so I could write tests, because you should never do something like this without writing tests. And then the first thing I did was make let me skip through this stuff real quick and go down here to here we go, migrations. I created a migration, a user migration that is has an email and a password digest, has a verification token, which we'll go into here in a minute, and a verified at, and a password reset token. Is everybody still hearing me okay?
Yeah, you're coming on, clear.
Okay. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and interrupt. That's just fine. And then that generated this schema for the database. And then I wrote some specs for the models. Let's see. This is the spec I wrote for the user model. It makes sure there's an email present. It ensures that the email is well formed, and ensures the email is unique. Ensures the password is present when the user is created. Ensures the password confirmation is present on change, and ensures password is confirmed on change, and then it allows user authentication. And then the model I generated, there we go, the user model, it's right here. So you don't have to validate a password in Rails when you're building you just write has secure password, or you just do has secure password, and that tells Rails that you want to use decrypt, and it does this. What it'll do is it'll validate that there's a password present and go through all the stuff to encrypt the password before it gets it to the database. And then I did write a validation for the email. And that validation just says that there has to be an email, and that it has to have this general format. This is a regular expression for those who are new to Ruby. This regular expression just says it has to have some words at the beginning, and then an @ sign, and then some words at the end. It's not making sure that it's a good email. It's just making sure that it's structured like a basic email, and also that that email is unique. In other words, it's not already being used somewhere by someone else. And then I wrote a controller, which is up here at the top.
Sorry, Clayton. I kind
Go
of
ahead.
missed interrupting you a little bit earlier. Can you just kind of go over how you formed your regular expression?
Sure.
That I think, a lot of times, I know I struggled with it. So if you could just kind of walk through your expression, regular expression right there, that'd be great.
Yeah. Hang on. There we go. Yeah, okay, so what this regular expression does, and if you're ever having trouble getting a regular expression written, rubular.com is your go-to place. But what this regular expression does is this right here just means this and this means everything between it is going to be a regular expression. So that's actually the regular expression statement. And this this /A means it's an anchor. It means it's going to be the beginning of the statement, or the beginning of the line, I believe. And that this is going to be the end of the string, the end of the line. I forget which. And then this part says, this is the open and closing brackets means capture everything between here, and it's going to not be, it's not going to have an @ sign, and it's not going to have white space, because is what this says. And then this plus means after that. So I'm going to have something that is not an @ sign and not white space. And then after that, I'm going to have a single @ sign. And then after that, I'm going to have something that is not an @ sign and not white space. And that is going to be the end of the regular expression.
Awesome. Thanks. I think that helps a lot.
Cool. Let's see. Oops. Okay, and then here we go. And I made some controllers. The first thing I built was the user controller, which is the sign in or sign up page. And it has def new. It's just @user equals user.new. Def create is @user equals user.new user params. So this is an example of using strong parameters, which just gives an extra layer of security. And what that means is down here in private, I wrote a method called user params, which says params.require user permits email, password, and password confirmation. That means it will only allow these three parameters. So that prevents somebody from injecting additional parameters into your controller to do malicious things to your app. And so we have user equals user.new, user params. This builds the user. And then so if I have a user and user.password equals user.password confirmation, then save the user and redirect to the verify path with user ID. If it does not, if there is not a user or the user password and password confirmation don't match, then redirect to the sign-in path. It just means re-render the page basically. But I could have done render.new. I could have done render new, I think there, but I did a redirect instead. I don't know that it matters which one you do, other than what will show up in your alerts and stuff. And then, so I have a couple of paths here, sign up path and verify path. Both of those I need routes for. So I started a routes file. I'm actually going to make this a little bit smaller, so my routes file. Now, it's still going to bleed over. My routes file, this right here is actually a single line. Everything with the plus is a single line. So this is a single line. This is a single line. The reason it's cramped is because I blew up my page some so people could see it better. But so I have a sign up path, which is a get. So I know we have some really new people, so I'm going to give them what get, and I'm going to mention what get and post do.
That would be great. Thanks.
Okay, so whenever you're making calls to a website, whenever you're making a call to go to that page on a website, it's called a get. And then whenever a user is sending data to the app through a form or through a button that they hit or something like that, that's called a post. So any page that displays is going to have a get, and any page that lets the user interact with that page that sends information is going to have a post. So the sign up page is going to have a get, and it's the user's new. That's the user's, that's the new method on users. And then the post is going to be users create. And it'll actually be, so you'll actually go to the page, in this case it's localhost/signup. So if I go to my localhost, I have my server up and running. So if I go to localhost 3000/signup, I guess I don't have my server running. Hang on. Sorry. Okay. Now I'll go to sign up. That should render the page. Now normally, from what I've showed you so far, it wouldn't have rendered the page. It would have told you that there's not a template because I'd only built the route. I hadn't built the views layer. But I'll show you that. I went ahead and built that. So that's there we go. App views. I guess it's all in alphabetical order, isn't it? So app views users just says sign up. It uses ERB, which lets you write Ruby, and it'll render it into HTML. So we just used form 4. There's two ways you could do this here. You could use form 4 or form tag. I used form tag in my sign in and form 4 for my sign up. The reason I did is because I want to create a user object with this form. And so form 4 is specifically designed for that. So I have a form 4 user on the sign up path. It has an email, a field where you can put the email up, has a password and a field for the password, and it has a password confirmation and a field for the password confirmation and a submit button. And that's what you see here. There's email, label, form, label, form, label, form, button. And then if you then type that in, let's just sign up with, let's just do angel@email.com. And we'll do password and password. That'll create a user. And then it says it'll redirect to the verify route, which is another route that I had to write. And it says, please verify your email. And an email has been sent to angel@email.com. Please click on the link. So if I look in my thing here, I had a mailer. I wrote a mailer, which sent an email to angel@email.com. At this time, from do not reply at rubycommitted.com to angel@email.com. Subject, Ruby committed, verify email. And then please click the following link to verify your email. And if you click this link, so if I copy link address and go in here and paste it, I've verified my email on the database. And that means that the site now will knows that that is a valid email. And then angel@email.com, password. You're now signed up and on the dashboard. You could sign out, sign back in. That's the basic idea. And then there's considerably more code to get there. I had to write a mailer for the. I had to write a mailer, which was the actual HTML for the email. That's this right here. I had to write some more controllers. So I had a controller for the verifications and a controller for the link. This is the this is the link that lets you. It tells you that this is the post. So whatever you click on the link in your email, it posts to this.
Freeze?
Did we lose him?
Looks like we lost him. It's frozen for me.
I think it's frozen for everybody.
Barry, you want to try taking over screen share?
Here.
Hello.
Oh, he's back?
Did you guys lose me?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, sorry.
But welcome back.
What? How long have I been gone?
Probably 30 seconds to a minute now.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry. What was the last thing I said that was sane?
You said welcome.
Did I cover? I covered the mailer. Did I? And I was showing off the other controllers there. So like the sessions controller and the verifications controller. And then I wrote tests to cover. Let's see. I wrote tests to cover. These are all the routes you need. So I have a. All right, these are the routes right here. Well, I had them. Here we go. Sign up, sign in, sign out, verify, reset password, which I didn't implement, but I went ahead and wrote the routes for. And then dashboard. And then I wrote tests for the sessions controller, the users controller, and the user model. I think that's it.
Very cool. Sorry, I cut out for a bit of that while I was transitioning. But Farish, if you're around, go ahead and do any follow-ups or any questions you think would be good for the group.
You know what? A quick question that I noticed something caught my eye. What is RSpec Pride?
Oh, I pulled it out because it's an old gem I like to use, but it's not very well maintained, and it was creating problems. It makes your tests fabulous, turns them all into rainbow colors.
Uh-oh.
That's cool.
Yeah, but it's not very well maintained, and so it was breaking my my pry or my IRB when I tried to go into console. It was causing issues, so I went ahead and pulled it back out. I need to at some point, once I learn enough about how RSpec works, I'm going to go in and write some Rails 4 integrations for that gem because I really like the gem, but I can't use it right now because it breaks stuff.
Another question on Action Mailer, and might not be the scope for today's discussion.
Mm-hmm.
How do we set it up to use the domain that we
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Okay, just was curious. I got I just got another VPS, and it's running really fast that I plan to play with real soon.
Very cool. And then Abhinav, you have something you're posting on the chat. Do you want to explain?
I was searching for more idiomatic way to express this query, and I think it's in the create action of section controller. I'm trying to look here. Could you see, Clayton?
Yeah. It's the complicated. We're actually going and write a strict SQL query instead of doing it the Rails way. I don't remember.
I think the idiomatic way, it's like I missed the copy and paste, but it's look at the last line only. User start where email patterns in your chain are not method. Again, I think it's this. You can test it. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was kosher to. Well, let me look at it real quick.
You just wrote it in SQL, didn't you?
Yeah, I just wrote it in SQL. Yeah, I should have done it in active record style, but I just wrote it in SQL.
So while we're on that, you mind explaining what the SQL versus active record style is?
Okay, so active record uses SQL. It's just a wrapper around SQL, or it's a wrapper around the PG gem. The PG gem in it writes SQL queries to talk to the database. And if you actually make a query, whenever you make a query in, like, for example, if you go into your console and do like user dot first, it'll show you what the actual query is in SQL. So I was actually trying to figure out how to do a complicated joins query for a table that was on my database a while back, and I went into my console and made the query in active record, and it showed me how to make the query in pure SQL. So that's a useful tool if you're ever doing a quiz and you need to know how to make a complicated SQL query. If you happen to have an app that does it in active record, you can find the SQL query.
Very nice. And then Abhinav, so you're mentioning that was a query in Arrow?
Yeah, Rails translates the active record queries to this gem, and then to the like Clayton said, to PG, Postgres, and MySQL. The advantage of maintaining the Rails style is that it's more cross-compatibility.
Right.
This SQL that Clayton write is not a great thing because it's so simple that it would probably be compatible with any engine. Yeah, então, so it's pretty common. It's very common to see this small snippets of SQL. But when you going deeper in a more complex SQL query, it's recommended to always stick with the active record and let it do the job for you.
Yeah, I should have done it that way.
No problem.
And then what is this, the RL? is that something that already comes with Rails, or is this an additional gem?
Okay, I will ask Jesus to explain it. I think it could explain it better. But it's like in simple words, it's like an intermediate. I don't know. Jesus, could you explain it?
Come on, Jesus, do your
Uh,
thing.
okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so RL is like the backend for Active Record. If you read the description on the link I posted from the repository, it says that it is a framework. It says that you can build your own ORM, which is what Active Record is. So basically, RL is the thing that generates SQL.
Okay, got it. And is this something that you have to add to your project, or is this something that's already part
No,
of?
no, it's like an important part of Rails.
Okay, got it, got it.
Sometimes in old versions of Rails, I saw some guys do some error when Rails didn't offer an active record way of doing the thing, and it's like instead of writing SQL, it writes direct arrow expressions, so it gains some intercompatibility with some different databases.
Yeah, I've seen something like this because I think there was since at work, I'm on Rails 3, and there was some expressions that Active Record just didn't handle, but I saw some samples where Arrow would. So that would be a use case for going to Arrow.
I could have pretty sure I could have done that with Active Record. I just didn't. I should have, but I didn't.
Oh, right, right. No, I mean just in general. If there's something that Active Record would be kind of tough to come across, I think especially in Rails 3, the Active Record that Rails 3 uses, there's some challenges against like not statements.
I'm not going to submit a pull request for that code, but I am going to leave it up on there. So if anybody wants to look at how I structured it in more detail, they can. And also, the only thing I'll add to it is if you needed to do password reset, which you would just write another mailer and have a controller that whenever you did the sign-in, on the sign-in page, you just have a link for forgot password that would take them to a form that would let them enter their email, and it would send the email as the new password. It would send them an email and let them get you could either send them a temporary hex password, or you could, I don't remember how I did it on my other app. I think, let me look real quick. I'll come back. Y'all go ahead and talk amongst yourselves.
Clayton, I have a suggestion. I don't know if the others agree. It's a great piece of code you've written. I think you can open a pull request not to be merged, but just to be easy to comment and to spot, because some people it's harder for newcomers to use the compare feature.
Great.
So you open and just state clear that it's not to be merged, and we can comment and study code. Is good. Everybody is learning here, and then when we finish discussions, we can just close the PR. What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, that's fine by me if that's what you guys want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. So before we move on from that, I don't know, Farish, if you kind of got the experience level. I know we see some new people on the call today. So feel free to ask questions. Let's see. I don't recall seeing Hashim before, and then someone else just joined in that I don't know how to see your username. But any questions on what kind of Clayton just went over?
I understand it pretty well. I've done the Michael Heidel tutorial, so I got familiar with user authentication during that, and it seemed like a lot of what you were creating there was very similar to that tutorial.
The only I did look at an app I have up and running, and what I would do for password reset on that is you actually you have a controller for password reset, and it will have them enter their email, and when they enter their email, it resets their passwords in and sends them a link with their new password, or sends them an email with their new password to that email address.
Awesome.
But that way they have to have a valid email and have access to that email account to be able to get that password.
Right.
What's better, Jesus?
You send a reset link and they click it, and then they can type their new password.
Okay, hang on. That may actually be what I do. It's a link to reset your password. Yeah, it sends them a link, and let me see what my edits. I'm looking at my mailers here. Sorry, it's been a while since I wrote this, and I'm trying to remember what I did. Controllers.
While you're looking that up, Corey, how are you doing today? How are you with all of this?
Pretty good. Doing well today. I'm kind of only
Following
half
along?
Listening. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. That's not a problem.
I also did most of the Hardware tutorial, and so I understand generally most of it. I think I got distracted, and then noticed we started talking about Active Record and SQL, and I wasn't sure how we got to going there.
So what I would do is I'd send them a link with a password reset token in the link, and then that would send them to a unique URL on the website generated by that token. And that way, they'd have to go to the email, click on the link, and then at that time they would get to reset their password in the form.
Okay.
So it'd be just like signing up, but they wouldn't change their email, just their password.
Is that what you were talking about, Jesus?
Yes.
So we should be okay on that. Well, again, we are going to use Device.
I haven't implemented it for this particular app, but that would be how you would do it.
Abhinav?
Just one more question. I was looking at the diff here, and I saw you talking about in one form you use this form 4, in another form tag. I just missed it. I think I didn't get why you used the two different approaches.
Okay.
Form tag and form 4.
So in form 4, you're actually building the user object. You're actually building a new user with the form 4, and so and in the form 4 you tell it, I'm building a user from this in the actual form 4 views layer, and then in the form tag, you're not actually building a user with it. You're just using that to make a query and assign, and log them in or whatever.
Session.
Mo, we are going to use Devise. I just wanted to show people how to roll one.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get a link.
I'm just trying to see, because I always use form 4, and I'm not good at these view tags. Sometimes I get confused, mainly because some code that I work on they use a simple form, and they have a very complicated way to handle this. To use Bootstrap, they do that wrapper. I don't know if you have used it before. And every form they use simple form. It never use tags. They just wrap in this wrapper simple form.
I think it's easier to test code with tags. So that's one reason I like to do it that way. But it doesn't. I don't think it's a security issue or it matters one way or the other. I may be wrong. I don't know. But I use form. I just showed both examples of how to do it, and I like to use form 4 for creating an object, and then form tags for whatever else. But I don't know that there's a convention. If there is, I haven't been doing it long enough to find out.
Okay.
Got it. Cool.
I think
go
that you
ahead.
only. Does anybody know? Do you only use strong params with Form 4? I don't think Form Tag takes strong params. Like I don't think it needs to, but I may be wrong about that.
I'm not really sure, to be honest with
Jesus might know.
you. Jesus.
uh,
Victor might know also. Victor, you got any thoughts?
We could bring it to one of our long-term Ruby people, and they can.
I believe the answer is yes, but I'm not 100% sure. I would want to look it up before I say yes, but I really believe the answer is yeah.
Yeah, that Form 4 you use strong params and Form Tag you don't need to.
That you should use strong params, yes.
But Form 4, I know you should.
Yeah.
I don't think with Form Tags it takes it.
doesn't it produce the same form?
I believe
Well, it produces a different kind of hash. So Form 4 produces a hash with a hash with with user as the key, and then a hash of the parameters as the values for that key. Form Tag only creates a hash with the parameters. It doesn't create a hash with a key that is the object name. That's the difference the two create. So like if you look in my test that I linked to, the one that tests the Form 4, I have to give a different kind of structure for the, I have to kind of manipulate the hash a little bit to get rid of the verified at, because of the strong parameters in my factory. It won't let me have the verified at in there.
And Farish, you want to comment on your link right now?
I think that might be answering what Clayton's looking for.
Let's take a look.
It's in my little toolbox.
Got it.
Okay, so yeah, this gets at it. So it has nested attributes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like one's going to return a hash with the key being the user, and the other one returns an array of the parameters hashes. Or yeah, I don't remember. I'd have to look at my forms here. But let's see. See the spec. Controllers. Yeah.
While we're looking at that, hey Mo, you want to introduce yourself real quick while Clayton looks that up?
Yep. Hi. This is my first time actually joining here. So, hi to all, I guess.
Very cool, very cool. Where are you joining from?
From Saudi Arabia.
Very nice. So we got all kinds of schedules here today.
Yeah. I'm a newbie actually there. Thank you, thank you. The project looks really interesting, and I would like to join in. Maybe I can add something or learn something.
Definitely, definitely. And then I don't think Hashim, I gave you an introduction before, but feel free to introduce yourself now while we look some of the stuff up. If you're around. If not, then just say hi on the chat. It's up to you. All right, Clayton, were you able to figure it out?
Yeah, the only one that I wrote the test for was the one that uses the nested. That has the user within the hash. So And if I had to write a test with the other one, then it would just.
Very cool. All right. Well, yeah. Did you make that PR for that?
No, I can do that real quick.
Yeah, do that. That way people can find it, because I think that's a very good way of learning what device is doing behind the scenes. And yes, we are using device, but Clayton was nice enough to kind of write his own. That way we can kind of see what the process of it and understand a little bit of behind the scenes of what device is doing.
Actually, someone did mention the Michael Hartle tutorial, and he goes through the entire process of authorizing users into any Rails application, and he does exactly what Device Gem does. So I think you can reference Michael Hartle's tutorial for that.
Very good. Very cool. And Jesus has a question also for Clayton.
It says, I noticed you don't use let in your test. Do you have anything against that? Not in particular. It's just not how I was taught to use RSpec. It's just not the convention I was taught. Like, I don't know if my mentor had a problem with it, but it's just not the way I was taught.
What are your thoughts on that, Jesus?
Well, you don't use let, you can end up with a lot of repetition for your setup.
So I've been taught instead of let that before each or before all or something like that, you can do that. That's the approach that I was taught. I didn't do it in this case because I only had the 2 tests, and it wasn't.
Got it. Welcome. All right. Any other questions on what Clayton went over?
Actually, I think that let is the preferred way to go, because it lazily executes the block, the let block. So in terms of efficiency and terms of efficiency, it's much better than using normally assigning a variable.
Okay.
Besides, one more point, I think you don't have to use the @ symbol before the variable. You just use it as a function call.
Right.
Very cool. And you know what?
Usually I would just use the @ symbol if I had like a before in there. I don't know. I'm still getting comfortable with RSpec. So I haven't learned all this conventions.
Yeah, me too.
Very cool. And you know what? It's really cool that we have the PR now, because we can comment on that. So feel free to make comments on the PR that Clayton opened. It's all a learning process anyway. That's what we're all doing this.
I'll just put, why aren't you using let? How's that?
What was that, Faris?
I said I'll just put, why aren't you using let, Clayton?
Just put Clayton and use some let. There you go. All right. So
Thanks.
And Corey, any reason for choosing RSpec over Minitest? That's just kind of what we chose at the beginning of the project. I forgot the main reasons behind it, but we went with RSpec. People seem to prefer to use it.
Way better than Minitest.
Right.
I think Jesus said he wasn't going to help if we use Minitest.
I hate Minitest. I don't like it. I mean, it's not as bad as Cucumber, but
I would say what we should do RSpec, and then when we get to project number 3, we'll use Minitest to force people to expand their minds. That might be the best way to go about it. Force us to learn. Because you might end up getting hired by a shop that says, oh, we're a Minitest shop. What you're going to do is spend countless hours trying to convince 20 other developers to switch to RSpec because you don't like it. So
sure, why not?
Start paying to use it. I'll use a Minitest.
There you go. When you start paying me to use Minitest, I will go ahead and do so.
That works.
Unless you're Jesus. All right, very cool. Any other questions on this PR?
you guys feel free to nitpick it all you want. I'm done with it, so you can go in there and nitpick it. I'm not going to make any other changes.
Those are the best kind, right?
Yeah.
All right, very cool. Farish, what else we got lined up?
Well, let's see. I think Victor will put him on the spot. Did the CSS layout, so he should be up next. Alan's not in the chat. I thought I saw something with him.
Victor.
I had a pull request too.
Oh, nice. Go for it. Since Victor
All right.
went quiet on us right now.
Oh, he did? Okay. So yeah, to get my screen share working, because it wasn't working in the last Hangout, I just had to switch to Chrome. I was using Chromium web browser, and apparently it's a pretty common issue that the screen share doesn't work in Chromium.
I think you suffered the fate of Clayton. He was going through the
Oh,
same
really?
thing before. Yeah.
How did you end up fixing it, Clayton?
You're muted, Clayton.
What's wrong now?
No, he was just asking how you ended up fixing your screen share on Ubuntu.
Are you on Linux? Okay. If you look on the left-hand side of your, if you mouse over your.
Well, and now I broke Clayton.
Uh-oh. All right.
Well, it's all right.
I'll go ahead and get started with the
Get
pull
started, and then
request.
we'll go back to it.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That fix it? Yeah, we can now. You're going to want to blow that up some.
Okay.
Dude, trust me, it took me months to figure that out. And I'm embarrassed that I just said that on a recording.
You know what? To your advantage, Clayton, you were breaking out while you were saying it, so you didn't confess to anything.
Oh, okay.
How does that look now?
It's better.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah. Looks good.
There you go.
Okay. So originally I had built out the achievement model with the controller, but then I realized we wanted to TDD this from the very beginning. So I figured I would go ahead and set up this test stack just so that I could get started with the TDD and that everybody else would have the tools necessary to start their TDDs. So I brought in RSpec Rails.
Good man.
So this file right here was just the .rspec file that was generated by RSpec init. And then Alan had mentioned format documentation. So I put that in there too, which just gives a really clean look to the display that that comes out when you run your specs. And then here's our gem file. So the gems, I just took out some white space lines right here, compressed it a little bit, and then these are the gems that I brought in: RSpec Rails, Capybara, Factory Girl with Faker, and Database Cleaner. And then Alan had mentioned that he really liked Guard and that we had used it on the other project, so I brought those in as well. Did anyone find out anything more about if Faker does not work well with Factory Girl?
You know what? I'm right now on a personal project using Faker and Factory Girl, and I've had zero issues.
Really?
Yet there, well, I'll let everybody know, but I haven't had a single issue right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Actually, there is another gem called F Faker, just pre-pended with an extra F, and that solves the issue of the regular Faker gem.
Oh, good to know. Do you know what the issue was?
How about Google would tell us?
That's fine. I mean, we can look it up later. But
It's faster, I guess. Actually, I'm gonna share the GitHub page.
yeah, share that and we'll take a look at it. But you can keep going, Christopher, if you want.
Okay. So then the gemfile.lock pretty much speaks for itself. And okay, so this is the Guard file. This was generated by Guard. So what Guard does is you can run the Guard server in a window on your development environment, however you set that up, however you have that, whatever works for you. I like to run it in a separate terminal tab. And then what happens is guard just runs in the background. And then whenever you make a change to your files and you save that change, guard is here watching, and it will automatically run all your specs for you.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
helpful.
you don't have to go back and run RSpec and find out the directory that you need every single time that you make a little change to a file. And it's just a really convenient way to have your test suite just constantly run and constantly do the work for you. It saves you a lot of time.
Is there anything that you could run right now that would show it in action?
Yeah. So guard's running right now. And then if I go to, say, my achievement model, and I make change, we'll take out presence true. And then guard automatically runs right here without me actually having to tell it to do anything. And you'll see that the test failed because I don't have a JavaScript runtime right now on my development machine. But that's a good way to show you that guard goes ahead and does the work in the background without you having to tell it to. So it's really cool.
Yeah, actually, it's really cool.
That's neat. All right, and it's just guard RSpec? Is that the gem?
Yep, guard RSpec, and then there's another gem here called guard live reload.
Yeah. What actually the guard does is it just monitors all your files in a specific directory, and whenever you save a file, it just redirects to the specific program. In this case, it's RSpec, and it will run RSpec again for all your tests.
Yeah, awesome. And then guard live reload. What live reload is I'm not exactly sure how to set it up because there's some extra stuff that you have to do to get this set up. You have to make some changes to your browser. And there's a great Rails cast on how to set that up. I'll have to post the link for everybody. But just to give an overview of what it is guard live reload is basically it's like guard but for your views. So when you make a change to one of your view files, it'll automatically make that change
Doesn't the Rails server do that automatically now in Rails 4 anyway?
Does it?
You have to go and refresh the page yourself on the browser to get the latest patches.
Okay, yeah.
And what guard live reload just makes it instant. So as soon as you make that change in one of the files, I don't even think you have to save it. I could be wrong on that, but I think as soon as you type it out, it'll just bam, you'll see the change instantly right in your browser.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
If you're ever working on a non-Rails app like in Sinatra or something like that, you should use Shotgun as your server thing for that very reason. I don't know if Guard works in Sinatra, but in Rails you can just refresh a page and it makes all the changes that you've made in your code. In Sinatra on a lot of servers, like on your local server, it won't do that unless you kill the server and start it over. But if you use Shotgun, it will.
Okay, cool. Shotgun.
Very cool. Hopefully, and any links like that, if you guys can, post the link.
Yeah, because I know some of you guys have been building stuff in Sinatra. You should definitely use Shotgun if you're using Sinatra, because it'll make your server act like a Rails server.
Very cool.
One very generous guy actually did build a Chrome plugin or extension for the live reload, so you don't have to go through all this configurations and setting on your browsers. So if you're using Chrome, you should actually download this plugin, and just once you start your guard and press a simple button on your Chrome, it will automatically connect it to guard.
Jesus didn't like that one.
I'm still a Rails skeptic, damn it.
Sorry, Christopher. Keep going, man.
Oh no, this is awesome. So this is the achievement model. Just got the initial file going here, and I figured it would be a good idea, obviously, to have a title, and that title should be unique. So we shouldn't have two achievements with the same title, and we shouldn't have two achievements with the same description either. So the way that I had it in my mind is an achievement would have a title, and then it would have a description to go with it. So for example, it could be something like the title would be Superstar, and then the description would be made your first pull request. And then maybe it would have a little thumbnail photo to go with it. Do you guys have any other ideas on what attributes an achievement should have?
So, ironically, I just started helping out on an open source project that has achievements. And
Okay.
I'll go in there and steal liberally from them.
Oh, awesome.
To figure out
Real
how
quick,
they structured it.
on the achievement system, part of it
Yeah.
was you reach the got an achievement, you also generate points. So you're going to need that in the model.
Okay.
Yeah, because that'll help us figure out how to track your different achievements, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get to X number of points, then your achievement, will pull something out for it.
Okay, great. So that's a good start for the achievement model, just to get the model up. And then some changes to the config application.rb file. This is just a change to the Rails generators to use the frameworks that we've specified in our gem file. So instead of using fixtures and mini-test like Rails does out of the box, the changes here to the generators make it so that we're going to be generating our spec files and using factories.
I wholly endorse your choice of RSpec and Factory Girl.
Awesome. So this is just the migration file here for the achievement model. So I have a question. TDD, you're supposed to write the smallest test possible, and then you have to make that test fail, and then you can only write one little extra tiny piece from that initial test.
That's hard to do and when you're doing migration. You can't do that with a migration unless you want to write a ton of migrations.
Okay, because it's going to add a lot of stuff for you. You would literally have to make every little, you would have to rebuild the whole thing.
That's nuts with, and to be honest with you, like when I wrote those models, I wrote a real granular test for that. But at that point, you're basically testing Rails functionality.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Because that's exactly how I felt. I was like, man, I got to write at least a batch of these because there's so much that Rails does for you. It's hard to just hit that one little test.
Yeah, that's too many migrations.
At that point, are you kind of just counting on the fact that Rails itself is well tested?
Yeah.
And generating these type of things?
Mm-hmm.
I would say on this, it would be less of a headache if you just generated one giant migration for all the parts of the model, and then do a validation test.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I did it piece by piece by piece just to get really in the TDD spirit. But yeah, in the future, just one migration will do.
Yeah, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with getting the TDD spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Developers were supposed to be efficient, and let me explain what
Right.
it really is. It's to be as lazy as possible while accomplishing your goals.
Mm-hmm.
What we do, just so, and I'm doing this for the broadcast too, is when you write a test, yeah, the idea is, pass one part, go to the next part, pass one part, go to the next part. But like in something like this, screw it, and that's the best way to put it. This is too much overwork. I would rather validate it.
You're never going to have 100% test coverage, and TDD and the way you're trying to do it is you just don't want that many migrations if you can avoid it. Not for every single line of every single model.
And what validation proves that your migration worked anyways.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So this is our schema file with the achievements in it. That's what the table is going to look like when it goes into the database. And so I set up a factory for the achievement specs with the title and description, and I used Faker in here just to generate a fake name for the title and a fake lorem ipsum sentence.
As long as you have it inside of those brackets like that, it should work.
Yep.
Don't ask me why. But that's the same way with time.now or something like that, because I had verified at, and I had to put it inside of brackets for the same reason as Factory Girl, because it was breaking whenever I didn't have it inside of brackets.
Yeah, I think what the brackets do is it creates new data each time.
Yeah.
So I think if you were using time.now, the way Factory Girl does it without the brackets is it would just call time.now the first time, and then it would keep using that time.now even if the time was changing. And then when you put it in as a block, it actually comes up with new data for every instance that a factory is called for.
Exactly. So whenever the interpreter encounters brackets, it will execute it on the spot. Whatever is inside will be executed on the spot.
Great.
Quick question, because I'm looking at the next page. Did you put Shooter helpers in there?
Where's that?
I see here. Oh no, you're not Shooter helpers. Okay.
Inside the achievement spec?
Yeah, you know what? You might want to try that. That might give you more options than what you're doing right there.
Okay.
Yeah, Shida helpers is actually cool, but then I have a philosophy on testing whatever Rails framework is doing. You shouldn't test that. You should test your own code, and you should make sure that your code is going through the entire logic of the application.
Okay, so are you saying that I could have left out ID, created at, and updated at?
Yeah, yes. Well, yeah, you're testing there whether or not Rails works.
Exactly.
So, right. So the only thing that I needed to put in here was title and description. Right? Because those are something that I added, and I want to make sure.
I would even do like, well, I'm not going to say how I do it because I don't follow the let and all that stuff. I'm still new to RSpec, but it definitely don't do the ID created at and updated at for sure.
Right. Okay. Great. Yeah, I definitely when I wrote that, I knew I was being overcautious, but I figured I would just go for it anyway.
I would say you don't even necessarily need to just respond to title. That might go, and this is why I brought up validation and I put should helpers in the chat. You can basically say should validate the presence of a title, because if you validate the presence of the title, I hate repeating myself. Because I think it might turn off some viewers. But with should helpers, it should validate the presence of title. You know, it all worked above, and that reduces the amount of code. Plus, you did the validation on top of that, and that will save you a couple extra tests.
Okay.
Yeah. So would you do like it has a title, and then do like expect achievement.title to equal something.
Okay.
I'm asking, not telling.
Well,
Fair.
down here, I think I definitely do that again.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of redundant the way it is right now.
Let me share my screen real quick so I can answer a question. You want to turn on for a moment?
You know, I'm still learning RSpec myself, but I think it's a little bit redundant to test an object if it has this attribute explicitly in the test. This should be tested implicitly in other tests in your code. So, for example, if you're testing that this object is belongs to another object, inside that test, you will be implicitly testing for the ID, for other attributes of that same object.
Yeah, let me make it larger. So this is written by ThoughtBot, just like the Factory Girl. Notice the theme here. And they look through the documentation, but one of the examples is what I was mentioning is it should validate the presence of a title. And it will also check your relationship for you.
Now that checks code you actually wrote.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And right here, there's test unit. For those who like to use but I think they have a mini test also.
But the thing is, it's not testing a logic; it's testing a fact. So here is where my philosophy gets a little bit. I like ThoughtBot, I like what these folks are doing, but I think they shouldn't encourage tools like shoulda.
Well, let me say that this way. You were talking about testing fact versus logic. If the fact maxes your logic, then your logic is working. And something just to think about.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I get your point. Absolutely.
So sometimes you want to do these steps so you're not going through, hey, I just tested if my title was working up here. Now I'm going to validate that title below here when both go hand in hand, and it reduces the amount of code you write. Remember, one of the reasons why Rails is so popular is speed to mockup, speed to development. I know we have some overseas viewers and people involved, but a real example, a good example is out here. Let's say there's a startup community. They want to get their app as fast as running because they're looking for investors of money. And part of that is also speed in your testing.
Absolutely right, but I don't think actually using tools like shoulda is increasing the speeds of your tests. It's behind the scene, it's creating all the objects that should be part of other objects, and it makes it easier, but performance-wise, it's not.
You know what? What's the biggest performance downer actually is Factory Girl. In fact, ThoughtBot wrote an article why you shouldn't use Factory Girl sometimes. And that's the big thing. When I did that tutorial video on Factory Girl, and I had posted on Reddit, the biggest fight wasn't about my tutorial, the quality sucks, stuff like that. There was an argument over why you shouldn't use Factory Girl, and other people saying you should use Factory Girl. And it was a great thing to read because you saw developers' thoughts behind the process. I don't think shoulda would have that much of an impact as Factory does. Even if you are building the data, it does slow things down. You can build.
So here's why. Okay, here's why I think it. I didn't know about shoulda until you showed it to me. I would probably use it if I was. And the reason is if I accidentally delete a validation, I want to know about it. And it lets me know.
Yeah.
But if you have other tests that test the logic of the application, then it should fail and tell you the same exact thing.
Sure. Okay. Yes, it will tell me but if my factory is only telling me, my factory's telling me that it's there, but if it's not being validated, no.
Yeah, you see, it's a bit of a split between two schools of thought.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with the people who enforce this kind of strict validation testing, and it's totally cool. I totally get that, but I think also the other people have a point of view of making that the fact being tested in the logic of the code itself. Because if you only depend on testing using shoulda, then you can just ignore the rest of the test.
Now, I'm going to interject one thing going to what we had said earlier. If we were doing mini tests, we would be having this conversation. About your tests, and sometimes what you guys get into, why there's a reason why sometimes you use one versus another.
Yep,
So
definitely.
I want to know if I accidentally delete a validation, because I could still save it to with Active Record even if I don't have the validation, right? And as long as the column's on the table.
Yeah.
So I want to know if that validation gets deleted. So I like the shoulda. And I also want to know that I also want to test my logic, which is why I'm going to have like expect blank to be blank. I'm going to test both of those. But I want to know if I accidentally delete a validation somewhere.
Can I ask a quick question?
Go for it, Victor.
And I promised myself I was not going to talk about gems any more than I have with Alan in the past. But since we're bringing it up, if I could, just one quick thought. The thought that I have in my head is when I hear Farish, and Alan makes the exact same point when he says, faster, that's what these gems are for. If you go get a job, they're using shoulda, they're using factory girl, you want to be able to blend in. But do the folks here know what factory girl is doing? Do they know what shoulda is doing? These tools, as Farish says, are fast. They help you write fast, fast code, lazy code. Just type this in, shoulda be that, you're done. But really, the shoulda thing is replacing like 3 lines of code. So with people who are learning, shouldn't they learn what these tools are doing before they use the tool to replace them?
100%.
Yes, totally, I agree.
Yes,
Sure,
I think that's agreed.
Yeah, that's why I advocate writing a user authentication system instead of using device.
Hey man, I thought it was brilliant. As soon as I saw it, I said, I thumbs up. My mic was muted, but I was happy because I would just love to see that we weren't saying, well, let somebody else roll our authentication. Even if we use another tool, we should learn what it's doing.
No, I completely agree with you. I'm saying that when I do production apps, I'm going to use shoulda in the future, and I think it's a good idea. And I have an app I'm going to implement it on because I think it's cool that it tests validations.
So I got a quick idea on this because like anything, there's always going to be schools of thought in different camps, and that's fine. That's all good. It's not a problem at all. But if Mo would be willing to kind of like write some tests around how he would do this without doing the shoulda, without kind of just testing it the way he would, and just kind of comparing, that would be a very interesting conversation on the next Hangout we have. I think just the different approaches on how you would go about testing that and how it's already been done right now. I think.
Well, Mo, you wouldn't test validations at all, right?
I used to use shoulda until I shouldn't. Now I'm not actually using that because I've read it somewhere and it actually hit me that this should be part of your logic. Your logic should be going through all the logic paths of your test should go through all the logic paths of your application, and you shouldn't depend only on shoulda. Not that it's not a cool tool, it is, but you shouldn't.
Got it. So would you be willing to write some tests around, or maybe?
Yes, absolutely.
That would be awesome. I think that would be a very cool discussion to just kind of see the two ways of going about it and where one is stronger over the other. And like anything else, there's probably scenarios where both would be, one or the other would be best.
And I just want to say something. I'm still a Ruby and Rails newbie, so just forgive me if I say anything and I just so just challenge my thoughts, challenge my ideas. That would be really cool.
It's actually not a problem. The whole point of this is civilized discourse. As long as we're not throwing chairs at each other, it's okay.
And that's why we did this online, because we cannot possibly throw chairs at each other unless we're like doing a hangout on the same room.
One thing I do want to say about authentication, because we do have people watching, Hurdle tutorial does teach roll your own authentication, and Code Academy has a course that teaches you how to write your own Rails authentication.
And if you watch the replay of the screencast, this hangout, you also have another tutorial on how to roll your own.
But for those who can follow up afterwards, you have those two sources.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the Hardle uses the exact same method I did too, or something very similar to it. Like,
And I think Code Academy is very similar to what Hardle did, because I had done both. I don't recall, but it was very similar in concept. I don't think we usually put show notes. Maybe I'll start doing that, and I'll put those two in there under the YouTube channel broadcast.
Wouldn't be a bad idea. That'd be pretty cool. Cool. All right, Christopher. I don't know if we even ever finished your PR, but if we haven't, sorry about that. Keep going.
Yeah, we got derailed.
Yes, he's gone.
All right, so moving down to the describe validation block, I use let in my my specs here. So I did let achievement, and then I built achievement out from one of the achievement factories. Then I went on to expect that achievement to be valid. I wrote this just to make sure that the variable that Factory Girl made worked right out of the box, so that there wasn't going to be any other issues as the test went on. Do you guys agree with that?
I think you should name the test. It has a valid factory.
Okay. Instead of accepts valid attributes.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it's what you're really testing here, because you rely on build, and after you can change your factory setup, and then you really test it. It keeps valid through the iterations.
Okay. And I use the word, okay, so I use the word rejects. What do you guys think about that? So it rejects a blank title. And then I went on to give it a blank title, and then I expected it not to be valid. Am I even supposed to test these validations?
No, that's fine by me. No, that.
Okay. So this looks good. So rejects blank title. It doesn't expect it to be valid, and it also rejects a blank description. Then it rejects a duplicate title. So I saved this achievement that was built out by the factory to the database, and then I created a duplicate achievement, and then built out another achievement from Factory Girl.
Yeah.
Then I made that title equal to the title of the original one that had been saved already to the database. So now the achievement and the duplicate achievement both have the same title. Therefore, now the duplicate achievement should not be valid. And then I just did the same thing for description.
Christopher, I just missed it. Where did the title was set before the achievement save? I think the title is new, or anything is set up by the Factory Girl.
Yep.
So I think that you don't need to reset the title. Third line of the test. Yeah.
Okay. So in this line here,
I don't know why this line is here.
Okay, so duplicate achievement dot title. This is right now before. Okay, so when the duplicate achievement is built from the factory, it's going to have a different title than this one did.
Because you're using Faker.
Faker, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm using Faker.
I got it. I got it.
Got it. Cool.
Okay.
And then one other thing, Jesus, aside from the readability of it, I'm thinking that's why you prefer it. Is there an advantage, or is the advantage the readability of it, to be invalid versus to not be valid?
Just readability.
Okay.
It does
Okay.
same thing.
Got it. Got it. So that's a preference. Did you catch that one, Christopher?
I did. That sounds good. I'm taking some notes here. So to be invalid instead of to not be valid.
Right. And it's a readability thing, kind of like, I guess when in just basic Ruby code, when you're doing an unless versus a if not.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like it. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, thanks.
So this is our Rails helper that was generated by RSpec init from RSpec Rails. And this is something that I added here, require capybara Rails. And this is so that we can include the capybara DSL inside of our specs. And I also included factory girl syntax methods. And this is so that we don't have to say factory girl before we build every single factory in all of our specs. We can just say build and then give the name of the symbol, and it'll automatically infer that we're going to be using the factory girl module inside of our specs, so we don't have to write it every single time.
And then what's it look like inside the actual spec? Show
Inside
me
the
that one more
spec.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see that now.
So inside the actual spec, we can just write build achievement. And it automatically knows that we want to use factory girl. Otherwise, we would have to write factory girl dot build achievement every single time we make a factory.
Okay, cool.
And then another modification to the Rails helper. So we're not using fixtures. So I commented out this line right here, the config.fixture path, because we're just not using fixtures, so there's no point to even have Rails figure that out for us. And then I moved use transactional fixtures down from here. I moved it down here just so it's a little bit neater. I set it to false because we're not using transactional fixtures, which is part of the way Rails handles cleaning out the database before every single example of your specs is run. We're not using that. We're going to use database cleaner. And database cleaner, I've never had any issues with transactional fixtures myself. What about you guys? Have you guys had more success with database cleaner?
Yeah, I think actually that was the issue with factory girl, and then they built the database cleaner just to make sure that everything is clean afterwards, just to eliminate some corner situations.
Okay. So this is just some pretty simple blocks. It's there's a yeah. Where did you want us to post the links inside Slack, Angel?
Yeah, that's probably good. Slack would probably be the best one. We can keep them around longer.
Great, yeah, because Alan sent me a really great post by Avdi Grimm about how to set this up. It's pretty much just a copy and paste to right to the bottom of your configuration file for RSpec of how to set up database cleaner. There wasn't much to do, but just to grab these blocks right here and put it in here. And then as long as you set this to false, then database cleaner will do its job.
Very cool.
So this is the spec helper. I didn't make any changes to this. This was just generated by RSpec. And then this is a test stub spec that Tangible Dream had made. He had wrote teststub.rb, but I just put underscore spec on the end of it so that RSpec would recognize it. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Very cool. Any questions or comments for Christopher? Aside from all the ones we already made?
I have one.
Yeah.
Can you scroll down
Sure. Where are we
to
going?
to the test?
To the test? The
Yes,
specs?
please.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
So I notice you are using multiple spaces. Is there a reason for that instead of just one? On line 20. Line 20.
Yep. Oh,
You are,
in here?
yes. So
Okay.
is there? Go ahead.
The only reason I did that is just to be more explicit about. So if I took these out, then it would just be. It would be as if there was nothing there. So I just wanted to make it known that even if there was some white space in there, it still wouldn't be valid. That's the only reason why I put those spaces in there.
Okay.
Because
any other way you would suggest, Jesus, or anyone else?
I'm not sure, but I think there is a difference between blank and empty.
Okay.
So maybe there is a missing test case, but I'm not sure. I have to test it actually myself.
So that's a good comment, right? If there's a difference between blank and empty.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Okay. Any other questions? Nope. Nope. Anything? Man, look at you, Christopher. You got a whole discussion going.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
All right, guys.
Thank you very much. Why don't, if you want, and there's any comments to make on this, you can always turn it into PR. Even if it's not ready for it, and that way people can make comments on the stuff we talked about today.
Oh yeah, that's a pull request already. It's ready to go.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. So if any of the comments that you missed, and if we could help you out, then let's just comment it on that. And did you post a link to it, to your PR? Go ahead and post it on Slack also.
How do you do that? How do you get it as an object to just post real quick? Do you just take
the link. If you go on GitHub and look at your pull requests.
Okay. Just take the URL and put it in there. Okay. Cool. Yep.
Cool. Got it. Any other questions? If not, I have a little bit of a kind of news on Code Newbie stuff that's happening. So I'll take kind of like the last couple minutes for that. But if there's any other questions ahead of time, then go ahead.
I think we're ready for it. Do it.
What was that?
Do it. Give your announcement.
All right. Cool.
Hey, I have one quick question. Can we merge in my Bootstrap?
Yeah, have you talked about it?
You guys can look at the source code. If it's ready, just roll it in. I don't have to talk about it. I'm good.
Let's see it. Let's at least show us your screen with some code. Man, you want stuff merged in and you don't even want to share your screen? What's up with that?
We're in a hurry. Got an announcement to make. I thought I would just slide by.
You can't slide anything by. I'll speed up my announcement.
Oh boy. Okay. Let's try. I'll be quick. So I was tasked with adding Bootstrap to the application.
For the complete newbies, tell them what Bootstrap does.
Bootstrap is a CSS framework to make the UI look beautiful. It's created by Twitter, and it adds responsive, adds default classes, it gives you a default style that you can customize. It was picked by the team to use, and I got the wonderful job of adding it to the app. Any questions on what Bootstrap is?
It creates a bunch of classes and stuff for your CSS, right?
Yep.
Predefined, correct.
Right. Makes it easy for you to make your HTML and CSS talk to each other in a sane way.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, your JavaScript and stuff.
Got it. And we're also
It is predefined CSS and JavaScript. You could
also
argue
based on
it's
a
easier
grid
better.
system, right? So the 12-column grid system.
Correct. And you
Kinda
can read more
helps.
about it. I think it's getbootstrap.com.
Yep.
It's got a grid system. It's got pre-built styles like wells, drop-down menus, and navigation systems. A lot of the stuff you would need for an application already built in.
Very cool. All right, go ahead. Keep going.
Okay, so the first thing I did was update the git ignore file just so I can keep the application clean. So I added lines 15 through 23, which is the same git ignore we used for the Ruby Monday blog.
Yep.
I wasn't sure who was doing RSpec, but I wanted to make sure that we had RSpec set up right. Now that I see it was, I can take the my.rspec out because it's the same as Christopher's. So there's no need for that, but I wanted to. We were talking about it in Slack, but I wasn't sure who was going to add it, so I just added it while I was there.
What's the format do?
The same thing as format documentation, just a shorter way to write it.
Okay.
And Christopher went over it, but it goes ahead and makes the formatting neater, right? I don't recall exactly.
Correct. It adds in an outline style.
Right.
And then color adds the color to
green.
it. It's green and red, yeah. It's exactly like Christopher had for his.
Cool.
But I'll pull mine out so we can just leave his. Okay, I updated my gem file to include the Bootstrap Sass and which is the Bootstrap gem for Rails, and I added the Font Awesome Rails gem as well. That is icons for your UI, and they're very much Bootstrap friendly. There's hundreds of them. Pretty much any icon you would need for your application.
Yep. I like Font Awesome.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, especially if you just want to have them all available. And I like that you can do them in just standard CSS and HTML way, or you can do them the Rails way. It has both of them available to you. I updated the README file to make sure that everybody knew how to get the application running who was new to Postgres or new to running Rails apps. I thought
nice.
you need a little more of an outline, so I added that. And because I was the one who did the sample files, I made sure there was a note to run rake secrets. You can generate new secret keys for your app.
Yeah.
And that's all noted here now. I removed the README doc that comes with it. Took that out. Now I'm in the Bootstrap world. I am adding Bootstrap to the JS asset pipeline. Simple one line there. Require Bootstrap. Bootstrap has a config file. If you go to getbootstrap.com and download it to your machine, you get this file as part of it because we include Bootstrap with the Rails gem. That's not exposed through the Rails gem, so I just get it. I pulled it down to my machine and added it as a plain CSS file to the application, allowing us to run Bootstrap the way it was meant to be run, which is for you to customize all the variables associated with it. So a lot of people who use Rails and Bootstrap complain that they have to override a lot of stuff. You don't have to do it if you customize this file accurately. So that's pretty much every variable associated with Bootstraps here, and the defaults for Bootstrap are there, but they can be changed, and it's application-wide.
So did you have to add an additional file, or sorry,
I add a file. I add a file.
You add a file.
If you use Bootstrap and you add Bootstrap to your application via the download, this file is available to you. If you use the gem, this file is not available to you. So what I do is use the gem, that's the preferred way, and then I manually add this one Bootstrap file to my application.
Okay, got it.
You can see in the code view here, app, assets, style sheets, that's the file.
And with that one file, now you can modify stuff.
Now you can modify all of Bootstrap. Every variable used throughout Bootstrap is defined here. So if you want to change, let's say, the color of buttons, it's common practice to create your own style sheet and override Bootstrap and just include your file after Bootstrap so as the style sheets trickle down, your style sheet gets taken after Bootstrap. By doing this, you're setting the Bootstrap color values for buttons and stuff like that.
Very cool.
And all that's here.
But I think I missed something. If you didn't if you haven't put this file on, only the gem would provide the same variables you put in there. Né? You just put in the file to make it easy to subscribe it, override it. Is it?
To modify them, correct. Exactly. These variables are built into the gem, hard-coded. This file sets the values of those, overriding them.
Great.
Again, in one spot. So you basically set up Bootstrap for your application here, the way Bootstrap was intended to be.
Got it. Very cool. I like that. I didn't know that.
And then I leave the asset pipeline CSS file. I just require a layout file, which is a Sass file, and then I add Font Awesome after that.
Font Awesome is great.
In my application file is where I do all of my imports and any CSS that I would want outside the asset pipeline. There's a lot of questions on asset pipeline and CSS and getting things to load right. This is the way that I found where I have no problem with the asset pipeline and Sass or CSS. Going back to my code view, so that's our variables file. Application.css, so what I just showed you, I add those two files into the asset pipeline, and then I customize my Sass file. And this is just the basic, what's required to get Bootstrap to work for this application. I haven't put any styling to this yet, but I need to be able to test Bootstrap, so I create a static pages controller with just the index method on it. So at this point, so I could test the home page, and I also changed the routes file to point to the right controller. So now this works. I can run this app locally. I create an application helper that sets the page title on every page. And what you can see here in my code view is, let's say on my home page, I have it commented out because you don't need a page title for the home page, but let's say this was the about page. You provide the title that you want for this page, and then I'll make this bigger so everybody can see, sorry. And then in my layouts file, I basically call the method to set the page title, which is right here on line 6, and I yield the title to my method. And then in my application helper, I have my little method that says if no title is provided, return a base title. If the title is provided, add it to the base title, return it to the page. Basically making the site SEO friendly.
Yay.
Very nice.
You know, because details matter.
Exactly.
You never know when someone's looking. Okay, so that's my template. Oh, also in my template file, while I was here testing my page title, I added a basic Bootstrap nav to the application. That is this. I added one menu item, I think, or two, get started and sign in. Just so I wanted to test to make sure the menu worked on mobile and desktop, which it does.
Let me see something. Can you scroll up a little bit?
Sure.
Isn't there some kind of I think some kind of meta tag that you kind of always need for the iOS display to go? Is there something in iOS that kind of messes?
That's line 5. That's the viewport, so it scales right.
There you go. There you go.
Yep,
Saw
it's
it.
there.
Just
Yep.
fine.
Line 5. Any other questions on this? Oh, I also add this in case if you're looking at like IE9, if you're an animal and that's what you're using, or you have something older than IE9, this will make sure that your HTML5 site will work. It converts all the HTML5 tags to div tags with the right classes, so your application will still work on older browsers that are not pure HTML5 compatible. That's what that does. Okay, coming back here. That's what I just showed you. So I just showed you this part right here in the code view. And then I basically created a home page that sets the title, commented out. Again, you don't need a title for the home page, but I want to have a sample there. So if someone creates a secondary page, you can just copy and paste this code, uncomment the title, and set the title. And change the route file to point to the home page. And I updated my secret keys, but I made a mistake. I did the sample, then I had to fix it. Everything I tell people not to do, I did it right there. And I have another clue. don't judge.
All right, hold on.
Legs.
Hold on. Pause right here. Pause. Corey had a question. What is the purpose of having a secrets.yaml file? Answer to avoid this.
Yes. This mistake, okay? So
you committed your actual secret key by accident?
Yeah, into the sample file because I changed the sample file by accident instead of changing my non-sample file. So if you pull the application down, it's funny because I set this up for our other app. If you pull the application down, you get a sample file. You don't get the actual file. Your job, if you read the README file, is to rename this file from .sample, take out the .sample, and then customize your file. Well, I duplicated mine, and then I changed the sample file by mistake and committed it up. Oops.
So in the secrets file, Corey, that's where, like what Jesus told you and Abhinav told you, this is where you kind of store all your API keys. So I'll give you an example. The idea is that eventually we're going to hook this up to call the GitHub API. So for that, we would need to have some API keys. You don't want that committed to a public repository because then anyone can use your API keys and post on your behalf. So what you do is you store them in a secrets.yaml file or whatever way you're using. We're using the secrets.yaml file, and that way you can just call a variable in your app, but it's not committed. That one is part of the git ignore, and that way you can still push up live, but not worry about sharing all your things like Victor did for us. So if you want to post some amazing stuff, take Victor's keys there.
If you ever make this mistake, just go to your terminal and just type in rake space secret, and it generates new keys for you.
Yeah.
Right.
For your app secret keys, but don't make a mistake of posting up like your GitHub or your whatever other APIs.
Right.
Or else you're gonna have to change all those.
Those are much harder to change.
Yes.
This was a rookie mistake. Oops. One quick thing, note while I'm here, I just saw this and I wanted to make sure it was covered. There are two ways to render this title: provide helper or content_for helper. They do like 99% of the exact same thing, but there is a slight difference, and provide is the proper one to use. And Angel, you're going to say, Victor, can you tell us the difference between the two? I have a feeling that's coming.
You've been here once or twice before.
Yes, and I happen to have this Rails documentation open for you guys, which basically says content for the whole page loads, and then the content for stuff is swapped out. Provide yields it back as soon as it's caught, and it's specifically used for layouts, which is what I'm doing.
Cool. Well, I'll post a link to that on the Slack if you can.
You got it. Ruby Monday.
Very cool. Thanks.
Okay, I think I was done. Let me just check I was here. Schema, yes. So just quickly, for those who can see my screen, there is my beautiful app running.
Nice.
And if I bring my screen down, mobile menu's in place, mobile menu works.
Nice.
And you'll notice there's no page title here, just says committed, because in this view I had that commented, but if I take the comment out and I refresh my page, I have my page title there being rendered accurately, SEO friendly for secondary pages.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Can I make one complaint?
Was there a certain gem I should have used that I didn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's one line of code. It's that format doc that is annoyingly verbose.
On the RSpec?
In the RSpec. I like the pretty green line. I don't want to see words unless something is broken.
Okay. Well, since Christopher set that up, Christopher, I'm going to let you argue that point. And I'm just going to support you, brother, whatever you want to argue. I agree with Christopher, but I'm going to let you fight that battle.
I'm actually neutral. Alan had suggested it, and I thought it sounded like a good idea, so I put it in.
You can totally do it from the command line when you run RSpec, but in the default, I want to be able to hit bin RSpec and get a nice, pretty green line.
Yeah, but if you're running a lot of specs, I've done pairing where people have been running a lot of specs and they run for like 20 minutes. You want to know what specs have ran and what specs haven't run. If you're in the middle, I just changed this code, but I want to run all my specs before I wrap up for the day. If you have documentation turned on, you run your spec.
You're completely right. You're completely right on a large code base. This is not going to be a large code base anytime soon.
And that's a special case too.
I thought this was going to be an amazing app that we're going to publish and the whole world is going to use, and we're going to go public and make people.
Yeah, this is the
Why
founding.
are they thinking so small?
This is the founding team right here.
Come back with that argument 6 months from now when we've got a huge code base and hundreds of tests. I will
got this one line of code.
I went in just to see what it did. I went into my app and ran it with that line of code in there and went, oh nope, delete.
If you want RSpec like an animal, that's up to you, Christopher. You did RSpec. I'm going to let you make this call. I'm staying out of this one.
All right, I'm taking it out if you want to run.
Oh, man. Come on. Very cool. All right, well, you got the ship it on this one. Any objections to that? What do we say? Can we go ahead and merge this in?
Looks great.
All right, I'll take out the line 3 of the RSpec on mine.
Yep, and aside from that, go ahead and merge it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're almost at the end, but Jesus, how quick can you be?
3 minutes.
Go for it.
You got 2 till 10 o'clock.
Okay. Okay, so I wrote a blog post about working with APIs. Is it APIs or APIs?
APIs.
APIs, okay. So, and do you want me to do a very quick demo?
Yes, go for it.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Let's see here. Not yet.
Yep.
Now we.
Okay, so this is my blog. I will copy and paste the code so you can see it in action. So I'm using REST client for requesting the API call, and then I am parsing it with JSON.parse, parse. And I'm using, this returns a hash, a normal Ruby hash. Then I'm using fetch. Are you guys familiar with the fetch method?
Go ahead and explain it if you can.
Yeah, so it's similar to doing the normal way to accessing the hash, which is this, but fetch gives you a better error if the key doesn't exist. So you do this something, you get
an extra dot in there.
You get a nil, but if you do fetch invalid, you get key not found, which it's a lot more useful than a nil.
Yeah,
do you agree?
That. Yes.
So that's what I did.
Useful errors.
Yeah. So there is another way to print a hash. There is the JJ method, which prints like this, which is easier to read.
That's new.
What is that, JJ?
Yes, it's a method from the JSON library.
Cool.
It's similar to pretty print, but since it's JSON, they're using JJ.
Instead of PP, that makes sense.
Okay, got it.
And there is also the awesome print that I mentioned last week. So this is what awesome print looks like. It
Looks
prints
very
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
I like the syntax highlighting.
So awesome print is a gem. If you can require like this, awesome print, and then the method is AP and the object. Okay.
Very cool.
Any questions?
No, this is good.
Okay. Well, I posted a link to the blog post which has the code. If you want to read it.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you, man. Thank you very much. I posted your link also on the Slack channel so we can keep it around.
Okay. Okay.
Very cool. Thanks, man. All right. Quick announcement on kind of things. So this will be a very good announcement, especially if you're working in any other languages aside from Ruby. We're trying to kind of consolidate the way that everything works. So the project we're working on, it's not going away. We're still going to continue on it. But what we're also doing is, I don't know, have you all started hearing about, it's going to change names, but like the Iron Coder challenges that they've been doing? So
yeah, they've been doing Iron Coder challenges, and then JavaScript Tuesday changed into JavaScript enabled.
Right, right. Well, no name change for us. We're all right with Ruby Monday.
Okay.
But what we are doing is that now we're going to start off our Hangouts by discussing the common challenge for the different nights. So, for example, it'll be similar to coding katas, coding challenges, algorithm challenges, whatever you want to do. It'll be very much focused on code versus framework, so it'll be focused on the language. And then everyone will get a chance to solve it throughout the week, and we can start off our Hangouts by discussing our different approaches to solving it. Or if we couldn't solve it, then what we're going to be able to do is say, hey, you know what, this is how far I got. Where did I get stuck? And then we'll just kind of have actual, like, just straight code to talk about at the beginning of the Hangout. And that'll be like the first hour or so, and then after that, we'll continue building out our project, you know, because all of us have put in time into the project. But we thought it would be a cool way of getting people used to kind of like actual just straight code versus
That sounds really cool.
gems and all
I like
that. So I hope that sounds like good news to everyone. It seems like it'll be very exciting. And then the other advantage is it's going to be the same challenge regardless of language. So let's say you're learning JavaScript as well, and you jump into JavaScript night, you'll be talking about the same challenge, but now in JavaScript. If you're, you know, want to start up a new language, you want to take on Python or take on Go or whatever, we'll try to keep them the same way. So that's the quick announcement that we wanted to have. We thought it'd be
Just starting next week?
Yeah, we can start next week depending on how the challenges get laid out this week. But if there's one already and you want to jump on it, go for it, and we'll start next week. The project, we're still going to go through the project, but we'll just leave it in the second half of the call. So hopefully that sounds like a good idea.
It is. It's really cool.
I like doing something that's specific to Ruby in the Ruby Monday group.
Yeah, yeah. I think that there was a good discussion amongst the different nights where there's a lot of frameworks around, so then you end up working on a framework rather than on the language. So this will give us a chance to work right on the language versus the different tools out there.
I feel so bad for the JavaScript people.
Right? But you know, it'll be fun. I'm planning on jumping on some of those JavaScript things as well. I think it'll be fun for me. So that was the short announcement, but we thought it'd be a sweet announcement to kind of go in that direction.
Sounds good.
All right, very cool. Well, Jesus is on board. So if Jesus is on board, everyone's on board.
Yeah, let's do this.
Hey, you're going to have to work on your British accent like we talked about, so it's more official.
Well, we have to remember that we're going to eventually rotate to a Spanish night and a Portuguese night. Because
yeah.
then we'll really learn. Then we'll really have all the languages covered, not just coding languages. Well, thanks everyone. It was a very good session. Like, go ahead.
When does the kata for the week get announced?
You know, I believe it's going to be announced in the general, but I'm sure you'll hear some more noise about it this week, just because we wanted to run it by all the coding nights first. So as the other ones get announced, I think some of them might have already, but as the other ones get announced and everyone's on board, you'll start hearing more noise about it.
Cool.
All right. Awesome. So thanks everyone. Farish, thanks so much for getting it started.
No problem.
And unless there's any other announcements or any other comments, any shout-outs that you want to do, go for it. If not, then we'll call it a night.
No. Thanks everybody out there for joining. This was this week's Ruby Monday.
Thank you.